Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. I'm super excited about this show because we're going to be talking in a minute to Zac Radford, who's a guy who I think his story is so incredible. He's been one of those people that, of course, even if you maybe don't know his name, I guarantee you've seen him. If you've been anywhere near golf social media, I mean, the king of the sting.
You've seen the sting, yeah.
Right? The stingers that he hits. And I think if you've listened to the show regularly, you've probably heard me mention that I've been very inspired by the way that he learned the game. Just going out there and he learned all that insane shot shaping just through a lot of trial and error, just getting out there, hitting golf balls. And I think that that's something that we can all kind of learn from, because a lot of us, when we get interested in the game, but we don't really have a direction of how to go out. And sometimes we can even get too technical.
Right.
We can start to get lost in the weeds, whether it be equipment or whether it be different types of like tutorials we're watching, YouTube, instead of just getting out there and just hitting balls and learning the game. And Zac did that in a lot of ways. So I'm really encouraged by that. And also, this is part of that ongoing series we're doing, celebrating 8 years of the podcast and getting some of the people that we've crossed paths with along the way back on the show or on the show for the first time. In this case, we've done collaborations with Zac, but we've never had him on the podcast.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
So getting them on the show and just really digging in and finding out more about them, like the whole story, where they got their start and all this stuff. So really excited to do that. I can't wait to bring him on the show.
And I want to find out how he went from a 12 handicap down to a +6.
Yeah. In how long?
In 1 year.
Yeah.
Less than a year. There's hope for all of us, guys.
Can you imagine?
So you're going to want to hear this.
It certainly doesn't come without work. So let's do that now. Let's dive right into our interview with Zac Radford.
All right, I want to welcome to the Golf Podcast, Zac Radford. Zac, dude, welcome to the show, man.
Appreciate it. Thank y'all for having me on.
Sure thing. And right off the bat, I just want to jump. Congratulations. I know, milestone achievement. You just hit 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. I mean, that's pretty awesome. That is awesome. Congratulations there.
I appreciate it. Yeah, that's...
I know it's been a journey.
Still can't believe it. Yeah, for sure.
And we met, the three of us met 2 years. We were just before the show. We were saying it's 2 years ago, like this week.
Yeah, 2019 is when we linked up at the PGA show.
And I think at that point you were under 50,000 subs. I mean, we went back to check, and then things just exploded. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. But first things first, we like to do this a lot when we have guests on the show, especially creators. We want to go way back and start at the beginning. And we like to do something where we call it first Instagram post and get your reaction on what this is. So I'm gonna.
I actually don't even remember.
I know, and you're gonna be like,
good.
It's gonna take you time.
Genuine surprise here. Let's do this.
All right.
Okay.
Let's see. So I'm holding this up.
Oh, love it. Awesome.
All right. So
probably a selfie. It looks like. Yeah.
It says you're in Germany. Nothing golf related. It says we're officially here on Instagram. Dude, what was that?
A lot to unpack here. No golf. You're in Germany. Take us through this.
Absolutely. So actually, haven't really told this story much. So how I got started, I was over in Germany for like a month, staying with a family. This would have been like six years ago, roughly. And a family friend of theirs was like, man, you really got to get started on Instagram. I was like, I don't do social media. He's like, I see where things are going. And he literally created my account for me, made the handle, sent me the handle password. He's like, change the password and start posting. So this guy was like roughly my age. He was like doing some business with the family. And so he was kind of around. And he just like kept telling me to get started posting while I was there. I never did. 2 months later, he sends me an email. He's like, hey, man, still not posting. I was like, all right. So that picture was taken downtown Nuremberg. And right after I got pretty good haircut, I felt like at the time. So yeah, walked into this barber shop and they didn't speak any English. So who I was with was kind of telling them what I was looking for. So it was a solid haircut, and that was a selfie, or maybe not a selfie, but it kind of looked like it.
And that was your introduction to the world on what you've then 6 years later have done. And we're going to, like I said, we're going to talk about a lot of it. So
yeah, what was it at that time that prompted your family member or buddy to say, like, you got to be there? Like, what were you doing in your life at that point? Was there a pursuit of a golf career? Were you still in school? Like, where were you at that point?
Yeah. So I didn't play golf in college and really just had played a little bit in high school. When I graduated, started kind of trying to see how good I could get at golf. So graduated from college, and to be honest, the only reason why this was even possible, I paid cash for school. I worked 40 hours a week and didn't know anything when I graduated. So talked to my dad. I was like, Dad, I got to come live at home. I'm like a 12 handicap right now, but I really think I've got something with golf. So I was like, but I got to stay at home. I'll wait tables at night. I'll practice all day, every day. So I had like a year, and I hit my goal like in September of that year after college. And, well, I guess it was January, kind of started that year. And my goal was to be a +4. And by the end of that calendar year, I was a +6 at the end of that first year. And
so from a 12 to a +6 in 12 months?
Roughly, yeah.
Jeez. And well, you said you were putting the work in. So you were practicing all day, every day at that point?
What goes into that? Like, what does that look like?
So basically, I would take something that I wasn't good at, and I would take the next 2 months, and I would practice whatever that was. Mm-hmm. That was 10-yard bunker shots. Let's just use it as an example. I would hit 2 hours a day, basically, whatever that shot was, till I felt like I was really good at it. I was the worst bunker player you've ever seen. So much fear stepping foot into the sand. It was terrible. So I took like 3 months, and on the backside of the course, there's some bunkers and practice areas. So I would just go and hit out of the bunker, to where I went from being, no joke, the worst bunker player you've ever seen, to a lot of the guys at the club would say they'd rather me be putting than in a greenside bunker. So that was how I kind of attacked the different aspects of the game. And then honestly, the stingers, that's how I learned how to play golf. I would sit there on the driving range, try to hit it as low as I could, but hit it solid, then try to hit it as high as I could, hit it solid, big hook, big cut. And I would sit there and hit shots through windows and stuff, in the sky. And that was so early on. If it was a cloudy day, I played phenomenal. If it was no clouds in the sky, it was terrible. Like, I couldn't visualize it, because all I would do early on was visualize shots through the clouds. And that's how I saw the game. And so if it was a cloudy day, I played really well typically. So that's a random little
that is a funny
side fact.
Yeah, don't bet against Zac when it's cloudy.
It's funny. Yeah, exactly. We only going to play him on sunny days. But it's funny that I think that's probably my most regurgitated story from when we were last together. When I remember asking you and saying, like, how did you learn those crazy shot shapes that we said? And I remember at the time you telling me, like, it was just going out there and just having some fun on the range and just seeing what your limits were and what you could do. Because I think there's a lot to be learned from that for, our listeners and stuff who are learning the game and they want to be able to do that. Is just, I think there's an element that you had just a little bit of fun with it, like just testing what you could do rather than getting so caught up in the technical side of, like, a lot of us will watch countless videos on how to hit a certain shot. But I think there's something to be learned from what you did there, is just do it until your body kind of figures it out. Is that kind of like, was that your thinking to a certain extent? Because I'm also wondering here, was a lot of this trial and error, or did you get coaches involved during that part of your journey with the game?
So I really didn't have any coaching. I had a few friends that I trusted, that if I wanted them to take a look at something, I'd say, hey man, mind checking this out? And am I seeing what's actually happening? Or so I would have some guys I could bounce some ideas off of, but I would just go out there and be like, well, that didn't work, so let's try something else. And then, okay, that worked, but I think we could pivot a little bit here to make it even better. And so I really struggled early on when someone would ask me, so how'd you hit that shot? And I'm like, I have no clue. I felt it. I thought it, and it happened. And that was kind of how I started playing. And I really found it difficult to explain how I physically did it. Yeah. Because to me, it was just like, well, I just saw that cloud and I just wanted to hit it through that cloud. Mm-hmm. No joke. That was how I started playing golf.
Hey, visualization is a big thing. I mean, we see even tour players doing that type of thing. But was there I think there's got to be something in between there of how much time. Like, so I'm thinking in like people who are listening and they're thinking, okay, I'm terrible at bunker shots too, but I feel like if I went and just like dedicated hours to it, I don't know if I'd see any improvement. Is there a point where things started to click for you and like a time that you just had to work through frustration? Like, you know, where did you get to at that point?
So early on, I was aimlessly going out there and practicing. Didn't really know what to practice. So like I said, if I struggled with a bunker shot, it was probably 2 hours a day for 3 months, every day. There was a point in time where I had a golf club in my hand for probably on average of 7 to 8 hours a day without taking a day off. There was one period, I think I went like 6 months, something like that I didn't take a day off. Felt like I was falling behind because I already felt behind because I'm 22 and just graduating college. I mean, these 12-year-old kids are better than me at this point. And so I'm trying to catch up. So I'm going out there a couple hours a day on whatever it was that I struggled with, but I played a lot. I either practiced inside of 40 yards or I was on the course. I never sat on the driving range and hit balls. I actually didn't like it. I didn't see the return on investment for scoring, hitting on balls on the driving range, because people typically go to the driving range and then they go to the course, everything changes. So it's like in my head early on, it was like, why not just practice on the course? So if I would come up on a shot, as long as it's not busy and this is my home course that I was at, I might drop 2 or 3 balls and hit whatever shot that was. And it's like, okay, how I started making decisions was, I'm going to try to explain this in a quick, easy way. So if I stepped up to a shot and it was a very difficult shot, I had to tell myself that I could pull the shot off more than 50% of the time. And if I could pull it off 50% of the time or more, I had to tell myself this was going to gain me 1 stroke if I pull it off. So it was a numbers game for me on how I made decisions on the course. But you really don't know how many times out of 10 you're going to pull that shot off if you don't actually have times that you attempted the shot or a shot similar. So knowing what you're capable of and then making decisions based on it, on how much, aggressive play you're willing to take on. So I was a little all over the place starting out, but if I really struggle with something, I would practice. I typically practice putting inside of 6 feet for a minimum of an hour to hour and a half a day for that whole year. Brant Snedeker told me, why practice putting outside of that? You're only going to make so many. So I pretty much just took his word at that and practice inside 6 feet. And so he's like, I want to see that ball go in the hole. And so he's like, you're only going to make so many 10-footers anyways. So just practice 6-footers.
When did you get the opportunity to work with Snedeker?
So he's from Nashville. He went to Vandy. And so a guy that I worked with, I was around Snedeker just a few times early on. And so we'd get out and play. And I was so nervous the first time I played with him. I had only really been playing legitimately for like, I can't remember, maybe like a year and a half or so at that point. But was just so excited. And I was sitting there, he was probably getting tired of the questions I was asking while I'm playing. And so we're walking down this one fairway, and it was just like, yeah, that makes so much sense. I asked him, there's a bunker 50 yards short of the green. I was like, Brant, like, what do you do to practice like 50-yard bunker shots? I was like, they are so difficult to hit. He looks at me, he goes, why would you ever hit it there? I was like, well, yeah, okay, gotcha. He's like, I don't practice 50-yard bunker shots. He's like, I might be there one time in 2 or 3 years. He's like, I'll figure it out at that point. He's like, for one shot, why practice it? So he's like, practice the things that you do all the time and just get really, really good at it.
That's cool. Smart. That's really good advice from a phenomenal player. Now, I want to just quickly go back because you're 22, you leave college, you go home, you're living with your parents, you're grinding. Well, first of all, it's safe to say you've never had a 9-to-5 job in your life. Is that correct? Any office life?
I've waited a lot of tables.
Okay.
No
You never went
office
to that
life.
corporate world. Got it. So it was golf grind. And I want to know, at what point in that transition, when you came home and you were grinding and you see your handicap going down and down, at what point did you take the leap and join some tournaments and get competitive?
So the very first tournament that I ever really played in, I had played in like a few junior events when I was in high school. But first event, turned pro right off the bat, which I know is a little ridiculous. I don't know why I did that, but wouldn't recommend doing that. But that was the choice I made at that point in time, was the Tennessee State Open. And actually, it was hard to tell because live leaderboards aren't great in those smaller events. I was either tied for the lead or had the lead with 9 holes left in that tournament. My buddy ended up winning, Grant Lever, who played on the Korn Ferry Tour and played in several PGA Tour events as well. Really good player. Needless to say, after the last 9, I was nowhere near the lead. I think I made 8 bogeys in a row. I just couldn't stop making bogeys. It was, I couldn't feel my arms, couldn't feel my hands. But I went out, I think the first round shot 67, 5 under, and then shot like 5 under or so, 4 under maybe on the front 9 of the last round, and then shot like 44 or something like that on the back 9. So it was a very good learning experience. It was fun, but I knew I needed to work on my mental game, and also my course management was awful at that point in time. And so that was kind of where I was at. That would have been the summer after. So I graduated spring of 09 from college. This would have been summer 2010. Would have been the first event. And then kind of played in a bunch of 1 and 2 day events, kind of played in a handful of, back when it used to be called the Hooters Tour. And then it was like the NGA Tour, Swing Thought Tour. It's been several different names. Played in a handful of those events. Kind of played okay from time to time, but just didn't really have any competitive experience to fall back on. But played in the final group with some very good players, and a handful of Hooters events back then. Back when I would have said that the Hooters Tour back then was roughly as competitive as the Korn Ferry. I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, that's crazy. But I felt like that tour, half that tour the next year was the Korn Ferry Tour back then. Yeah. So, and I mean, Pat Kazire, and I mean, I could name several guys I played with that were on that tour then, Peter Malnati and tons of other guys. And so that was early on, and honestly was struggling paying for these events. I had no amateur career to show any sponsors or anything. So full circle back to what we were talking about early. That's why when I was in Germany, he was encouraging me, hey, build a platform to give sponsors a reason to back you or be interested in kind of supporting you through the tour. So that's how I got started, and that was the reasoning for that. And then it kind of escalated to a point that I didn't anticipate all that going. So,
but at that time, other than him giving you that nudge, social media, that whole type of content creator thing, that wasn't even on your radar. You were just in this pursuit of a more traditional, I would say, golf career.
For sure. Hated taking pictures, wanted no part in making a video, just absolutely hated it. And I took one picture one time. It probably was like 2 months after that first post, maybe 3 months. I was like, at the time, I thought it was a super cool picture. Looking back, it was probably trash, but I was like, oh, that was cool. I can do this, and I've got this idea now. And it was kind of a domino effect from there. And then started getting into videos probably a year later. But it actually started out with me taking pictures and stuff like that. So
it's incredible too, because now you see how great your stuff is, how comfortable you are with it. It's good, I think, for a lot of people to hear that everyone starts off uncomfortable. I think any of us, you scroll back our first video, even on YouTube, we every once in a while look at that just to laugh, and it's just, you just cringe out of your skin. But then you realize like you got to start somewhere. You know, nobody comes out their first, you know, movie is Star Wars. It just doesn't work that way. But so now we're still in this process. We're kind of grinding through the mini tour, but you're starting to see some traction, starting to pick up, I would imagine, a little bit with social media as well. Was there a point when you did start to get some attention from potential sponsors, or was there any type of tipping point there where you started to see like, hey, things are going on over here on the content creation side too? Like, where did that start to pivot?
Probably the first year that I went to the PGA show. Let's see, that would have been 2018, one of those 2 years. And I started seeing, when I went that first year, there was a handful of us crazy content influencer kids, whatever. There was like maybe 15 of us. It was like Butsy and Sean from Golf Ball,
right.
Tanya
I think that was
Tare.
our first year we were there. 'Cause 2017, I think, was our first visit there too.
Yeah,
2017.
Yeah,
or 2018, one of those two.
And so that was just, it was funny to see that all of us kind of hung out that year. Everyone's kind of gone their own separate ways from now, and everyone I think is doing really well. It was funny though to see that we were pulling in more views, this little group of kids in the corner, than, I hate to say this, than the entire show itself at that point in time. And we were just those crazy kids that no one knew what to do with early on. And so, but we all kind of were seeing where things were going. And probably shortly thereafter that was when I had a couple viral videos do well. My Instagram started growing and started getting reached out to by brands. And it was like, okay, so I can make this into something real. And so probably, let's say early 2018 is when I really started seeing the possibilities of what was going on. But I probably was spending 35, 40 hours a week on my Instagram and making videos when I was seeing nothing from it. Probably did that for like a year and a half, 2 years. And I mean, it was a grind.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, you're talking to two guys that did a podcast for 2 years before anyone even listened to it. So we totally get what you're saying. But at that point, was it all Instagram focused, or had you launched the YouTube channel? Had you gotten into like the longer form, like kind of going out on the course vlog style videos at that point yet?
I had not. So it would have been 3 years ago, November. So 2018, November was when I had a YouTube channel. Like if you see when it was created, it was like 2014, but I didn't really upload a video for years. And then uploaded a how to hit a stinger video that summer, and then didn't upload anything for a while. So I had one video upload like middle of 2018 summer, and then November, right around Thanksgiving, I was like, I'm all in. I think I made 30 videos in like 40 something days. So I would go to the course, film, edit all night, wake up, edit till it was done, post it, which it was normally that evening, and then go to sleep, wake up, go film, edit. And I did that for almost 2 months in a row. And that kind of got the initial start. But it took me probably, I think it was 55 days to get monetized from the day I chose to like really grind it out. Yeah. And then it obviously, y'all know, it's up and down. It's up and down, but hopefully like the plateau goes a little higher each time it dips down.
Definitely does. And part of that growth has come from a lot of great collabs. And we know that you've worked with a ton of people on your channel. We've seen some great collabs, and one of them in particular, Garrett and Micah and GM Golf. I want to ask you, when did that relationship start? Are those guys you knew forever growing up, or did you meet them along the way?
It seems like it was in the early days of your Instagram that we saw a lot of working together.
Yeah. So this would have been probably 2017. I'm still trying to figure things out on Instagram and what this whole world is and all that. And I had just started kind of getting into some videos. and just started posting some of the very early on stingers. And all of a sudden I get this notification that someone tagged me in a post. And I look and I was like, who is this GM golf kid? And he challenges me to a stinger competition on over a post. Yep. I was like, this kid throwing this challenge out here. Like, no one in the golf world was doing that kind of stuff at that point in time. No one was reaching out. Really, there was almost no one collabing at that stage. I'm sure there was like a few, but no one was really reaching out to each other. And so I made a video challenging him back. I hit a shot. We went back and forth, maybe like 10 videos each, something like that. And then I ended up just driving to Kansas City, and GM, Garrett and Micah. So at the very beginning, they were both doing GM golf. Well, Micah stepped away for a period and then came back. And so I was there when they were just getting started. I was still kind of just getting started, and it was fun. We're just back there in Garrett's backyard doing trick shots on his putting green. And some of those trick shots we'd get first take, no joke. And some we would get 9 hours later. And the one thing I noticed with Garrett, honestly, I grind. I will spend whatever it takes. Garrett is like beyond me. Like, no one grinds and works as hard as he has. So I got to commend him. It's unreal how much time, effort, and work that Garrett and Micah as well now. But Garrett, there was something about him. I was like, this kid will he's in it until the video's done. Like, however long it takes, which is super impressive. There's not many people out there. So that was early on.
And we don't get to see that. I would love somebody to put together a YouTube series, like just called like Between the Posts or something.
There you go.
Because we see them when they happen and we assume it's a lot of work, but I don't think anyone really realizes how much work it truly is. And in those videos, we go back and watch them and see how much fun you guys are having. But it's a lot of dedication to keep doing it until it works.
I mean, yeah, Frank and I still joke about the DM that Garrett sent us before he really hit it big. I mean, we pulled it up, because you could scroll back on Instagram DM forever. And this was sub 10,000 on IG. He was asking us to give him a final push, send him a hat to do some trick shots. And we were like, hey, this kid's he's pretty talented. Let's send him a G hat. And we were just up and coming. And sure enough, I don't know.
It's evidence that he was grinding.
You could tell how hard the kid wanted to work just from those conversations. He just kept hitting us. And so we're right there with you on that.
Hey guys, this episode of the podcast is sponsored by Titleist. The evolution of the T-Series advances Titleist even further in their mission to produce the best irons in the world. New materials, new processes, and new refinements power new precision that must be felt to be played. We got a chance to feel it firsthand in our T-Series fitting just this past summer, and I've been really loving gaming the new T200s for me. I know, Mike, you're in the T300s.
That's right.
There is something for everyone in that lineup, and I think the best thing that we can always suggest to you guys is go get fit. You get these things, they're incredible clubs to start with, and once you get them dialed in, just butter. Just butter,
baby.
Absolutely love it. So each model is an instrument of exacting performance passed from Titleist R&D to Tour Pros to you. It's the Titleist T-Series, precision made, precision played. Check them out now at Titleist.com.
And we want to thank FootJoy for providing us with the apparel that we need to play through any season and every season. We know it's cold, but it doesn't mean you have to stop playing golf. We layer up, we continue to grind, and we make every day playable. FootJoy has more apparel for more seasons than you can imagine. Things like the the Phase 1 base layer thermal, the hybrid hoodie, the Hydro Tour jacket, which I love, waterproof. It's mobile. You could swing with a jacket on without worrying about your swing not getting through the ball. It's a great outer layer, wind protection. It's warm. It's thin, but it's warm. That's what we love about it. And the countless other things that FootJoy provides, from the hats and the gloves and the Stay Soft gloves, the winter gloves, the rain gloves. They truly
do extend the season.
They do.
The reality is it really does. If you layer properly and you're able to do that, you're able to play more golf, which is what we're all about.
That's what we want. We want more rounds carded every single year, and FootJoy allows us to do that. So you got to check it out for yourself. Visit footjoy.com and go see what they've got to offer.
Yeah. One quick little video that we did that took forever, that In the video, it may not have looked that difficult, but basically Garrett hit a ball through, hit a slab, bounced over my head, bounced around, and I slid the slab. Well, those slabs are like 30, 35 pounds each. I slid that slab like maybe 700-800 times until we finally got it. I woke up the next morning and couldn't move because it's the most awkward. You bend down, slide, and just doing that over and over for about 8 hours. That was just a little side note.
Go try to pick that one up.
Unbelievable. Well, look, what this is kind of leading to, and we're seeing like the grind kind of shifting, because now you're talking about being up all night editing, spending hours and hours doing these. So at that point, it doesn't sound like you had the same amount of time to dedicate to a more traditional golf practice and playing in tournaments. So was there like a decision made at that point? Like, I'm going to shift my limited 24 hours in the day that I have towards this and maybe back off the mini tours a bit?
Yeah. So that was probably about 2 to 2.5 years ago when that, it wasn't just like one day shift. It was, you know, this week I'm going to keep focusing on this, and maybe I'll sign up for an event in a month or two. And then probably 2 years ago, a little under 2 years ago, I was like, well, I'm just all in here. And I still try to practice enough to keep the game decent. And so, but normally almost all my videos, no joke, there's no warm up. I go straight to the tee, press record, and we're filming and going. Yeah. And so that has kind of taken the forefront, the content and the videos. And I love doing it. I really genuinely do. It's a lot of editing, and I know y'all, I'm preaching to the choir here saying that. And each video probably takes me, because almost every video I do now is 9 holes roughly, either a match or course vlog, something like that. And each video probably takes, you know, 2.25 hours to film. I've gotten pretty quick with it, so it doesn't really take much longer to film it than to just normally play. But then, you know, by the time you get all the footage and cut it all, put shot tracers, all that, you know, 10 hours later on the edit, you're finally uploading it. And so about 12 hours of video, maybe 13 hours of video.
And the amount of videos you're doing is what's incredible. And what blew my mind when we played together, and I'm wondering if you still do this, at that time, you were doing all the editing on your iPhone. I still can't imagine all those hours of editing on iPhone. Are you still doing that, or have you moved on to some other form of editing?
Oh, we're going to see a timeline. Uh-oh.
He still does it on his iPhone.
Yeah,
no.
Oh, you use the Splice. Everything on Splice.
Yep.
I am so impressed that you can do that.
These are the raw clips. I haven't started. I have my system, and because I'm traveling so much, I can do it way quicker on there than on the computer. I know that sounds crazy. I've tried.
Are you filming them on the iPhone too? Guys. Or are you filming them on a separate camera and importing them? Because
do you want to see my camera setup? I'll show it.
Because I'm just so impressed with the quality.
Seconds. Yeah, go grab it.
I appreciate it.
Well, we could tell the audience
because even, like, he was filming back in that time. Like he was filming everything.
The iPhone was life for Zac,
and editing it, and the videos were phenomenal.
Yeah. So I was doing everything on the iPhone in 2018, 19 when I started. So I think I hit 40. Maybe it was 35,000 subs filming everything on the iPhone. So I encourage everyone, if they want to get started, start on the phone and like get down the process, because it is way easier than having to deal with the camera early on. I think cameras kind of scare people.
Yeah, well, remember when we played together, we're lugging this big DSLR and the mic camera, and there's Zac.
I got to know his process.
He's got more subscribers than us. He's putting a better video than we are, I'm sure, and he's got an iPhone. But we tell people the same thing, because we had one instance about a year or two ago. We got to play Baltusrol, and it was so tight on limitations that they said, you can film, but it can only be an iPhone because we don't want to distract anyone. And we went out there, we did it. We did it with iPhone. I don't know how you do it every time. It's a challenge, but we say the same thing to people, because we get and I'm sure you get the same. We get a lot of DMs and people messaging us say like, I want to do what you do and document my rounds. How do I do it? And the first thing we say is just take your phone out there and just film. Start there. Just start. Just do it. It'll get better
Yep.
with time, you know. But let's see this
Couldn't
this
agree
modern
more.
day rig. Let's see what we've got.
And we see you got drone.
This was
okay.
I've got a drone. I've got the Mavic Air 2.
Okay.
It's small, compact. It's super easy to just throw up there real quick.
And that's a new piece of equipment for you in the past years? Because I remember when we played, you didn't have drone.
Right. That would have been 2020 and February 2020, I think is when I got my first, or the drone. And it's been great. I mean,
Cool.
I don't try to do anything crazy with it. I mean, just get some aerial shots, and I'm not trying to be the best drone pilot or anything
Because you're
like
still
that.
a one-man shop. It's just you out there, right?
Yeah. Yep. So I've got my process down. You know, I typically film the whole video and then come back, try to find a couple spots and throw the drone up, and then get maybe a stinger or two. So I've kind of got my daily routine as far as the footage goes. But this is the camera I went to after the phone. So this is the Sony A6600.
Mm-hmm.
There it is.
Yeah, right there.
Mhm.
Very familiar with that one. Yep.
Got a little small rig. This thing's a little beast. This thing has been awesome. Filmed in 20-degree weather and 124-degree weather in this thing.
Where was that? Death Valley?
Where were we on the sun?
playing Furnace Creek, bottom of Death Valley.
There you go.
Me and my brother were the only ones out there. It was pretty unreal. I had a cooler with ice and a plastic bag. So we'd film one shot, put the camera down into the cooler and the ice bag in between every single shot. And so that was, oh boy, it was fun, but I don't recommend filming in 124-degree weather. And this is the new.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Beast.
This is the new guy, FX3.
Yeah.
So
there it is.
This thing's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I mean, we was looking at some of the clips you're posting, be like, "There's no way he's still shooting." I mean, iPhone does great video, but let me tell you something.
For sure.
Yeah.
The quality of what you're getting now. So that's cool, and I think that's part of the fun is just as you go learning and finding new ways to make your content, you know, a little bit better, like piece by piece, and it's shown
For sure.
Now you've talking about golf courses. You've got to play some incredible courses. When we were chatting 2 years ago, I remember you telling me the story about Cypress Point, and I think you were saying at that time it was one of your favorites you've got to play. But we've seen some incredible courses. Hawaii, I remember those videos were really big for you. Are there any that stand out as some of your favorites that you've played so far, and maybe some that are still on that list to get to?
For sure. So some of my favorites so far, the back nine at Cypress, there's nothing in my mind that would compare to 9 holes of golf. If you ever have the honor to get to play it, it's really pretty special. I mean, 15, 16, 17, probably the coolest 3-hole stretch that there is in golf, in my opinion.
And wasn't there a cool story with that too? Like, did you get like a spot last minute? I'm trying to dig back in my mind here.
Yeah, it was something that my friend asked me to come just walk the course. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm in. I didn't. And then we're there and he hands me the bag and he's like, use my clubs, you can play. I was like, what?
Wow.
So I was like, this doesn't happen. So that was pretty sweet. That honestly, it's still pretty unbelievable. So that was how I ended up getting to play Cypress. Probably coolest, craziest course I've ever played was Collabs in Hawaii. It was like you're playing in the middle of Jurassic Park. That was super cool. Unfortunately, it closed, I heard, like a year and a half ago. The price to maintain that course is pretty high. It being like, I think it's a rainforest, it was technically classified being in. But that was the coolest setting of a course. Probably coolest epic views, terrain, Sand Hollow, holes 12 through 15. It's like on the edge of cliffs and the red rock, and it's pretty awesome if you ever get the chance. It's in St. George, Utah.
Okay.
There's other courses there in the area too that are pretty awesome. Favorite golf hole, probably number 12 at Elkhorn Ridge in South Dakota, Spearfish, South Dakota. The front nine was a fun course, kind of not a whole lot to it. Some elevation changes for sure. Back nine, one of the coolest little stretches of holes on the back nine there. And number 12, it's a par five. It's like 600 something yards. And there's marshland, there's cliffs and like rock edge. There's split fairway. And then to the right, it's like prairie grass rolling hills. And then down by the green, it's like a little creek rolling and massive rocks. And it's one of the craziest terrains because it's like 4 different terrains on one hole. It's a super fun hole. So I also eagled it the only time I played it. So that probably helps and how much I enjoyed it.
That definitely takes it from a 9 to a 10 really quick. So how much of this is like what you're doing is because you're obviously rattling off quite a few even different states. Like how much is it travel versus kind of filming closer to home? I know COVID kind of changed that for everyone to a certain extent for at least for a while, but are you traveling most of the time?
Last year, I would have to look to see exactly, but I was probably traveling more than I was home. So I was I think roughly 7 months. I did go on like a little over 2-month road trip starting here in Nashville, went up into Wisconsin, all the way across to Seattle and looped it back. And when I dropped Micah and Katie off at the airport in Seattle and I clicked go home and it said 1 day and 13 hours of drive time, I had to take a deep breath and just like, oh.
What was that ride home like? How many stops did you make?
So I stopped. So I dropped them off and I drove like 6 hours to somewhere in Oregon.
Okay.
Just a hotel off the side of the road. And then I booked it all the way to middle of Nebraska the next day. And then drove from there to actually Garrett's parents' house in Kansas City, stayed the night there, and then drove it home from there. I wasn't stopping to play golf at that point in time. I'm like, we just got to get this drive done. And so booked it back.
Oh, that's wild.
That's a route right there.
Well, I tell you, you mentioned Garrett and them. We talked about them earlier. Any more or new collabs in the future for you guys? You and I think they're doing incredible things with Good. I think they're doing a great job of growing the game, especially for a young audience. Any chance we'll see you back doing some stuff with them?
Yeah, definitely hoping so. Me and Micah for sure. And all of our schedules are kind of all over the place. And so now it's a lot more difficult to kind of mesh up. For sure, me and Micah, we're trying to actually work on something right now for this summer. But yeah, hopefully be able to get our schedules lined up for the rest of the boys too.
Yeah, that's the hard part. Like you said, I mean, everybody's grinding, and I see them too, traveling, them, filming daily. You're doing the same, so it's tough to get those paths across. But one path we saw across recently, you and Scott Stallings. And that was really fun to see you going head to head with the PGA Tour Pro. How did that come together?
So Scott's awesome, like genuine dude. Really appreciated him taking the time. We've known each other for a little while, just never really quite worked out for us to film for our schedules, and ended up we had a day, and unfortunately that day that lined up for both of us was 30 degrees.
Yeah, we saw
and
that.
icy.
Cold. Yeah, looked cold.
Yeah. Also,
where was that film? Where were you guys?
So that was in Knoxville at Holston Hills.
Okay.
It's just outside of Knoxville. He's from Knoxville. I went to Tennessee and Knoxville, so I'm very familiar with Knoxville. And we also worked out at like 5:30 a.m. that morning. Scott was like, hey, work out in the AM, golf in the PM. I was like, sweet. So I'm thinking, well, maybe like 8:30 workout. He's like, yeah, we start at 5:30. I'm like, oh, so I'll be there.
Yeah.
So you had the opportunity, because Scott was on the show last year. He talked a lot about the barn. Now, is that where you work out? Yep. Tell us about that.
That's where we were.
What's behind those doors?
So I walk in there, 5:30. I think I was like maybe a minute early. So like 5:29, walk in there, and there's a couple other guys, a couple of his friends, and they're telling us what we're doing. I never do cardio. I do walk almost every round of golf that I play, and I work out probably 5 days a week, but I'll do more stretching and weights and strength training, stuff like that. I just don't do cardio. And he's like, yeah, we're doing interval cardio today. I'm like, awesome. So yeah, I made it through it, thankfully. But I will say his setup in there is awesome. So it's like at the base of his driveway, and it's kind of separate from the house, and it's a garage, but it's more of a barn. It's like a big, it would be a massive garage, but it had everything you wanted. He's got his little golf closet back there. He calls it a closet. It's almost like a room, just golf paradise in there. And he's got a net on the one side, a little putting green on the side. I mean, it is a golfer's workout paradise in his backyard, which was pretty awesome to be able to go and work out there.
That's pretty cool.
I can imagine. One other thing I wanted to dig into before we let you go, I want to talk a little bit about what's in the bag. Because I think you've made some changes too. I've seen on the recently, I think it was the new Titleist TSI. I think it was 3 driver, if I'm right. And I've seen you've been experimenting with some other stuff. Some of those really sexy blades I saw in there too. So and I wanted to ask too, is there a new Stinger club? Because I did see that the old 4-iron bit the dust at one point there.
It did. It was on hole number 4 in Montana in a match on Micah's channel. Just teeing off, and that thing went flying, and that was sad. I've had that.
It had a lot of life in it until that point. It had a lot of life into it at that point. You know,
I'm sure that one club had a lot of views and subs and follows in it with all those Stingers, man.
So this is going way back before I started posting content or anything. I remember telling a buddy of mine who was the assistant pro at National Golf at the time. I don't even know why, but I love that club so much. And I remember telling him at one point, I was just holding the club and I just, hit a tee shot. We were playing 9 or something. And I was like, this club's going to get a lot of views one day. This was like years before I'd ever done social media. I don't even know why I made that comment at that point in time. But I was like, this club's so awesome that it's going to get a lot of views one day. Didn't know how.
Yeah.
So that was a comment probably 2 or 3 years before.
That's wild. And didn't it, I saw somewhere, did you repair it? I thought you bring it to somebody and somebody fixed it. Is it back in the bag?
So it broke again. Unfortunately. So
that's a bummer.
We put it to rest.
It's trying to tell you something. It wants to be retired.
It is.
Yeah.
I probably will make a little plaque or something of it at some point in time, just for fun. I won't get rid of it. I will always hang on to that club head. That club was awesome. So currently working on it. I've got some options. I've got some new Titleist driving irons, but we're trying to kind of dial it in right now. I was actually hitting these new ones a little higher than I would like. A lot of the driving irons, how they're built is to actually get height. And for a good stinger, you don't really want that height. And so I had that 4-iron bent a little strong and it was upright a little bit. And so it was kind of dialed into where I wanted it. So we're working on that currently, trying some different heads out. And so what's in the bag will be coming soon.
Okay.
I will say I've been hitting the Hulk hazardous. That thing is awesome.
Yeah. The old camera.
That thing is awesome.
Yeah. Everyone wants that, Jeff, just because how it looks. Doesn't mean we can all play it, but we all want it.
It looks awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
It definitely looks awesome.
The color is just awesome and so you have that on your TSI 3 driver?
Yep, gotcha. I do. And 620 MB irons. I've got I hate to keep walking away from the camera. I have my bag. It's right there. I'll grab a couple of them.
Let's see. Yeah.
Yeah, we got to see them because they're fresh. We like to see some fresh.
And if you guys are listening to the podcast, make sure you check out our YouTube channel where you can watch the show and see exactly what we're talking about here.
So here is the hazardous right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty. That's
so we got that.
Now, have you always been a Titleist guy? Because I know that 4-iron was a Titleist. It just like through the years, just like that's what you found worked for you, or is there a reason? That you're.
They look really good.
That's true. Yeah.
I went and tested everything pretty much maybe 3 months ago. and Titleist performed the best. I will say I've looked at Titleist irons for a really long time, and so it was one of those things that it's a comfortable look to me. So maybe that's why I swung them better. I will say the TSI 3 surprised me. I didn't think that that was going to be the club head, because I actually have hit TaylorMade drivers pretty much my whole life. But the TSI 3 proved to be definitely the better head. So, and then that hazardous shaft, I will say, took me just like a few swings to kind of get used to it. And I had one day where I didn't hit it great, but when I swing it well, that's probably the best shaft I've ever had. So,
yeah. And Zac, do you have any? You have no sponsorships, or do you work with anyone
from a club standpoint?
Currently, I have had some help, some clubs from that, but as far as just an actual sponsorship, clubs, I am not.
Nothing formalized. So, yeah, I got you. Okay.
Correct. Yeah, but I mean, I've had some help for sure.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, nothing formally. This is a 60, a 2021 Proto wedge. This thing's pretty awesome, and I'm looking at it right now. Scott would be super mad at me. That is not totally clean. And, if you watch the video, Scott was giving me a hard time about how dirty some of my clubs were. So
that's great.
But rightfully so. So this is the U500 3 iron that we've been trying to see if this would be the new Stinger club. I don't know yet. So we're going to try another one, and we're going to find out from there. But I think I'm going to try the T200 head. Is kind of what I was looking at. I think the U500 just promotes a lot higher ball flight. I can hit that thing to the moon.
Yeah. I have the U505, and it just, I do it because I'm no Stinger guy. You know that. I like it because it helps me get that ball up on a club that's traditionally harder to hit. But yeah, I see what you're saying. That thing would be tough to do what you do with it, because it does help you out so much.
The one thing I want to jump in and we didn't touch on, and I see you wearing it proudly, is Ostrich.
Yeah.
Here's an apparel brand that you launched, and I remember I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, you launched it right before COVID hit?
I think you were prepping for launch when we played together in 2019.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So the day the lockdowns started, that 2 weeks was the day we launched. And that had been scheduled for our launch for a while, and it's going to make for a great story one day.
It is.
It really is. Because where are you at now?
So we've been roughly 2 years since the launch, a little under, and we've been very thankful. I will say it's been tough to manufacturers and dealing with shipping. We've sold in, I believe, I'd have to look, but I think we're up to 17 countries we've sold in now, which I thought was pretty cool. But I will say that shipping to some countries over the last little while has been a little bit of a struggle. But I've greatly appreciated everyone's support. We are working on some new stuff. I've been getting a lot of questions on why there haven't been anything new coming out. And just behind the scenes a little bit, we were in a transition period, having to move manufacturers, just kind of is what it is. And in that between time, we're working on some new stuff, but just give us a little time, and it's coming.
Well, and to not put the cart before the horse, for anyone who's new to it, Ostrich is your apparel brand. And tell us a little bit about it in general. Like, what's the mission? What was the idea behind starting an apparel brand?
Yeah. So our tagline is "Not Your Average Birdie." We wanted to, kind of be part of that new up and coming generation of golfers. We wanted the quality of Peter Millar, but kind of targeting that mid-level price, kind of coming in at a better price, but also but having the same quality.
Right.
Yeah. We wanted the same quality as a high-end polo, but something that was a little more affordable. We did start out with bamboo. I really like the feel and everything of bamboo. And so that's where we started. With how everything's changed so much in the last 2 years, we're not quite sure if we're going to stick with bamboo. It's just become a lot more difficult to make. And so we're in that decision making process right now. But yeah, we want hoodies on the golf course, and we are wanting to target that next generation of golfers, but giving them a high quality polo, hoodie, hat, whatever you're looking for. And we're going to keep branching out. Eventually one day we want to have a women's line and everything. But we want to execute each item when we come out with it. So that's why we've taken it slow. And I just want everyone to be really happy and have a great experience from the first time that they make a purchase. We do something that I've been very adamant about. We have a handwritten letter to everyone that makes a purchase, that it's in your package when it arrives. So we want that personal touch, even though we are all online e-commerce at the moment. So we want to feel like they're a part of the family.
Gotcha. That's really cool.
And what's the best place to get that apparel? Where can we point people to?
Ostrich.com, no I, so OSTRCH.com.
And we'll definitely.
I really appreciate it
as well. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's incredible what you're doing. So then, what? Now we've got, like, it's kind of coming full circle. As you said, we've got, the YouTube channel hitting 100,000 subscribers. You've got the apparel brand is starting to really get its legs under it. 2 years in, what does the future hold? Where is Zac Radford headed?
So this is something I haven't shared with anyone, and I can't go into much detail on it, but I have created my own platform, and it's all the back end and the UI is pretty much done. It's going to be a golf channel, YouTube, Netflix mix, and it's I'm really excited about it. So it will be coming soon. We've been in the process for a little while working on it, and so I kind of feel called to help the up and coming content creators, and I can give them advice on how to make better YouTube videos, how to film stuff better. But if I can build a platform, I can genuinely help them. And so I want to provide a space for them to learn the process of content creation, but also be able to make some money early on and be able to kind of start carving the path for them. And with Ostrich, we can pair in helping them with their apparel. And then I've got some ideas with NFTs as well. So
that's very cool. Yeah. So I mean, that's great stuff. And I think it's so good for the game of golf to start to see so many other personalities, because the reality is it's great watching the PGA Tour and that more traditional exposure that we got to golf content. But I think as we have these other personalities, there's more and more that people can attach to. And I think it brings people into the game. I've always said, I think this should be as wide as we can get it when it comes to content creators. Bring as many people as you can in. It's always been our philosophy to collaborate with as many people as you can. Who cares what size anybody is, whatever it may be. There's always, at the end of the day, there's that kid who might get into the game because they may attach to this personality, be able to relate to someone that they see on whether on YouTube or potentially with this new platform that you're going to be diving into. So I think it's just great for growing the game, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you come up with.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm very excited. I think we really have something, and it will be coming out soon. So
awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait for that.
We will stay tuned for that. Well, listen, Zac, appreciate it. Mike, sorry.
Before I let you go, one final picture I got to share with you, because I want you to see. Do you remember what was happening here?
Oh boy,
is this our album cover for our boy band?
Oh,
what is this?
Absolutely. When's the single coming out?
Yeah, right.
Question.
Do you remember the name of that course? I want to test you.
Oh,
a guy who plays all over the world.
Yeah.
I think I stopped.
I feel like
I don't even remember where that was.
Because I had to go to the
I feel like Eagle was in the name, but that could be not correct at all.
You were pretty close, because you probably played Eaglebrook that same week or something, because we were there.
Oh, I did.
Yes, this was Dub's Dread.
Dub's Dread.
And I lost my cell phone. Will you guys help me find it?
Oh yeah, that was dude. That was the day. That was the day.
That was.
I still remember that night we were running around that because the sun had set by the time we got back to the golf course. We had to go back to our
hotel,
our hotel,
40-minute drive.
Go grab the computer so we could do the air, whatever it's called.
So I had to like find my iPhone.
Find my iPhone, right. And we're running around in the dark with the computer on the golf course trying to find that iPhone. But that was something.
To this day, you and Andrew Jensen were just such sweethearts for sticking around after a 5-hour filming of 3 separate videos to help me look for it. So
yeah,
I'll never forget that.
I know the struggle of losing your phone, so I had all the sympathy in the world.
Yeah, well, I'll always appreciate that.
Well, we'll have to redo it. We got to get back out.
Okay.
We'll
For sure.
Play with you again. Obviously, this year we're not. I don't know about you. We're not headed to the PGA show. Just fortunately couldn't make it happen. And it was very back and forth whether it was even going to happen with COVID. But I'm sure we'll be back there again next year. If not before that, we'll get a chance to link up and play together again.
For sure. Can I ask y'all like what y'all are planning on doing this summer, and if there's a possible overlap that we could meet up or hang out or whatever?
We're a lot of travel in our plans, especially a lot of East Coast stuff. Like we're targeting maybe, Kiowa. We're actually going to Innisbrook next month and going to spend 4 days in Tampa. And, we've always wanted to get to Nashville. And there's like other places that would be probably for you, an easy car ride. Driving from Seattle, you probably don't care.
Yeah, drive
right.
anywhere.
But, if there's anything that's, I'd love to do it again. It'd be great.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to hit, I've got 2 states left. Now, I haven't played golf in 48 states, but I've been to 48 states. I've got 2 states left. So I want to take a road trip up to Maine. Okay. So maybe if y'all are somewhere in the 100%. Vicinity.
Yeah, especially if you're going to come through this area, New York, New Jersey, we'll get you on some courses. We've got some places we could play together. So let's definitely link up and do that. We just did a little Vermont mini series at the end of last year. We had a lot of fun with that. So I'm sure Maine will be really cool.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I've got Maine and Alaska. Those are my last 2 states. So we're almost there.
Golf in Alaska. I'm sure that's a very small window for that. So
there's a couple courses up there. There are a few courses up there. So
make it happen. All right. Well, listen, thanks again. Appreciate the time today. And I'm sure, like I said, our paths will cross again. We'll get a chance to play in person. But this was really great catching up with you. And like I said, a lot of great stuff on the fire. So congrats again on 100,000 subscribers. Congrats on everything that you got going on with Ostrich and that whole line. And we look forward to seeing even more from you in the next coming months.
Really do appreciate y'all having me on. This was fun. Really enjoyed it.
Appreciate that, man. Anytime.
Thanks again. All right. So I as I said at the beginning of the show, I was really looking forward to getting Zac on the show. Mm-hmm. And now, you can see it, he's just one of the nicest, most down to earth, like relatable guys in all of the golf, whatever you want to call it, the golf content creation space or whatever it may be. And I just thought it was so interesting to have a guy like this on the show who did have that 2 kind of dual journey of the more traditional, making a living out of golf with playing on professional tournaments and trying to, win money and stuff like that there. And then this new world of content creation and just seeing where that split became for him. I thought it was so interesting at the beginning of the show where he mentioned like he had to be pushed into social media.
Right. I know.
And now, it's the thing that's really helped him to amplify who he is and his message and just taking that from there and then just growing beyond himself to the Ostrich brand and some of the other new things that he says he's going to be launching in these coming months. I just thought all of that was just incredible, but hoping to get a chance to get out there and play with him again in person because at the end of the day, great guy, great personality, but when it comes to golf, he's a stick.
He really is.
And it's just, you can watch his stinger videos all day long, but when you see it in person and you hear it, the way he hits a golf ball, man.
He knows how to score, that kid.
He sure does.
He's put in the grind. We obviously know that now.
But I think there's a huge lesson for us all to learn from that. And some of us, we get frustrated with our golf game and like, why is it not going anywhere? But then you take a hard look at yourself. How many hours did you work on your game in the last week?
Yeah.
Right? Now compare that to Zac. 8 hours a day, nonstop, for, what did he say? At least 3 straight months, 7 days a week, 8
While
hours
waiting
a day.
tables at night. So think about how tired you are, but still pushing yourself and pushing yourself.
But I think also not just the amount of practice, but the focus that he had. Instead of just going to the range and just beating balls, he would get out on the course and his first thing he said, whatever he wasn't good at is what he'd work on.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us, we don't want to like hit the shots that we dread hitting.
Of course.
But you have to. Like, look how much time he's put into just, bunker shots. He said he was the worst bunker player. Puts all the time in the bunker, and now he's comfortable in the bunker, and you want him on your scramble team if you're in the bunker.
No, you're definitely right. I mean, there's nothing sexy about practicing 5-foot putts, but those are the ones I always miss.
Right.
So there you
and
go.
Those are the ones that's where the money's made. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that. Like I said, we'll put all of the links in the video description if you're watching this on YouTube, also, as well as you can get to the show notes on Golficity or in the Golficity app. We'll put all the links so that you can follow along with Zac's journey. We'll link to his YouTube channel and to his Instagram. If you're not already following him in those places, definitely give him a follow. He makes incredible content. And like I said, he's just a really, truly good guy who's good for the game. So you'll see all of that. Appreciate everybody following along. We'll see everybody again next week.